Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where three guys come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And X-Man.
Hey, everybody.
So, I feel very hesitant to talk about this topic, but X-Man, I think, is going to go ahead and take it away with what are we talking about this week?
Well, first of all, I don't know about y'all, but I sat in last week's topic, and it is still just kind of, I don't know. It just kept churning inside me. We talked about Gabby Petito. And so it started kind of getting me to think about the country and stuff. So here is the topic that I want us to discuss today, because, this is a podcast. It's called Retrospect because we all are a different generation. Mm-hmm. So I want to hear from your seat, from where you sit in your generation, who do you think is America's greatest enemy?
I got this one.
Oh no.
I got this one.
Here we go.
This one's
Hold
easy.
on. Wait, while I buckle up. Wait.
I'm going to say the media or the press is the greatest enemy to America.
Okay.
I feel like, this is what I hate. I feel like the enemy of America is itself sometimes. I don't think I mean it in a super aggressive way, but it just feels like, I don't know, everything's stacked up against one side or the other.
We're our own worst enemy.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It's like there is obviously physical, tangible enemies outside our borders, probably.
Okay.
But the thing that I feel like is going to break us down and make us all crumble is ourselves from the inside. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think it plays into the media as a part of that.
So you see that as a bigger threat than, say, China or Russia or communism or
yes, absolutely.
You do. Okay.
Because I agree with what Ian's saying and the responsibility.
Ladies and gentlemen,
no.
Hang on. I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk over you, but a millennial
drum roll.
And a boomer agreeing on anything is a moment to mark.
Well, think about this. Can Russia defeat America? No. Can China defeat America? No. Mm-hmm. Ronald Reagan said it best. We're one generation away from losing all of our freedoms.
Right.
And I think that the press has the responsibility, and they deem what's being said right now. The white on black crime, the black on black crime.
Other countries perceive us through our
how
media.
Do they see us? It's through our media.
Right.
And all of the uproar in America generally stems from the media, from the press. Back in my day, I can remember, a number of things that happened that you don't hear today. All you hear about now is Kim Kardashian's ass, things like that. What did somebody wear to the awards? These are what's deemed news now. Watergate.
Oh, yeah.
Who remembers Watergate?
Oh, man.
Okay.
I don't.
I remember it from history, but not from,
that whole story, that whole thing was broken by two reporters.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. The Ollie North thing where they were selling cocaine to the African American community in Los Angeles to pay for the war on drugs. That was broken by a reporter who committed suicide with 2 taps to the back of the head.
Oh my gosh.
So you can't do that. So somebody obviously murdered them.
I see.
So, but my point is, where are those reporters? Where is that press today?
Yeah. Well,
who's finding out the truth instead of misshaping the truth to go across your... Go ahead.
I was going to say, hear me out. I think we've talked about it, a little bit in previous episodes, or at least in discussions before, of a lot of it is where the money is. I think that's the big thing, is even if the situations in our borders aren't, it's bad, but maybe not that bad, but the media has a way of sensationalizing it, making it something bigger than it is, to get that next click or that next like.
If I say something or do something wrong, I'm punished for it.
Right.
But if the press comes out and says a complete lie on page 1 and ruins somebody's life, but then they find out that it's not true, all they have to do is print a 1-inch retraction on page 15 of section C, and they're covered. Where's the responsibility? Where is the truth?
Right.
And they're not responsible for the truth. They're responsible to themselves for selling newspapers, as the old quotes go.
Well, and the press is no longer kind of acting as free agent anymore. I mean, it's everybody's in someone's pocket. And so one of the things that I've noticed, Stoney, that kind of goes to what you're saying is I think that there's no probably more visible sign of what's happening in our country with regards to the press than the distinct differences between these last two presidents.
Oh yes,
you have one who is literally.
I think I know where you're going with this one.
One might as well have someone's hand up his butt like a puppet, because they're controlling everything that's being said and they're censoring it, even to the point of cutting a mic off.
Right.
If they don't like or they're too concerned about the response, or you have one like our previous president who was so over and hyper communicative that the press was able to take that and use whatever they wanted to out of that to create a narrative.
Well, but that's what he did. He wanted to make sure you heard it from him and not twisted by somebody else.
But it didn't
That's what
matter.
He said. That was his reason.
It didn't matter though, because the power that they have is the on and off switch. They can run what they want, and the people that are going to subscribe to that are not going to hear it. And so they can run what they want and just completely go silent on what they don't. And so you find, like during the Trump presidency, there was a huge difference between what was making the news on Fox News versus on CNN, and so where does that leave the average person like me and you and our listeners? Like, where does that leave us? I mean, we're forced to make choices over how we're going to hear the news.
Mm-hmm. Well, but also you have to think about it like this. There was a saying, I don't know who said it, but they said for a non-believer, no proof is possible, and for a believer, no proof is necessary. When you believe a certain set of circumstances, that's what you're going to go with. Mm-hmm. Somebody really can't change your mind. It would take just this huge thing to completely change your mind. Mm-hmm. Right. That's the liberal and the conservative agendas. That's what they believe. Nothing's going to change it. And then they're going to mutate the truth, or what they perceive the truth to be, to back up their side.
Yeah. And it's not just in the presidencies. You see it in other things too, like who gets coverage. We've been talking a lot about Gabby Petito and stuff. You have a young white girl, right? And so you have so there's this thing, and there's often an accusation, and sometimes a really fair one about the coverages being a very selective coverage based on who will listen and who will, what they can get the most traction out of.
And then on top of that, how about when that coverage has happened to take your attention away from something else that's going on here?
Yeah, right.
And that happens quite a bit here in America.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's a huge, that's a 101 political move, create a bigger story. Right. So it's really interesting, but I don't disagree with you, man. I think that the press, that's definitely got to be up there, because it's not a free press.
They were always, up until what was it about Walter Cronkite? What was his saying at the end? That's the story. That's the news, or something like that. I don't know. And he was very unbiased. He gave you both sides and gave you enough information to help you make the decision for yourself. Right. We have no unbiased reporting or coverage today. Everybody is for their agenda. People buy TV stations and broadcasting and things like that to help their agenda. Yeah. And that's it.
There's people that I listen to on like YouTube and stuff that I think have a pretty unbiased, or if it is a leaning, it's pretty light to one side, where I'm able to go like, I can see the bias there. But it's hard for me, because it's like I had never been, even when potentially earlier on in my adulthood, when it was probably easier for me to keep up with what was going on politically, I still didn't really keep up. But now I feel like it's getting so blown out of proportion. It's like I don't, like, I have my own life I'm trying to live. I'm also trying to figure out what I want to do, like, for, setting up myself financially for in the future. Like, I also want to potentially start up like a family soon, or, in the next, so many years or whatever. So it's like I have all these other things that I'm like thinking about. And then like I'm not super interested in politics. And then of course on top of all that, I just feel like everything is like so. There's no like for me what I've seen. There's no middle ground or one side or the other talking at like a normal pace. It's always like 100%, and if you're not like on board, like on my team, at my whatever, it's like
I'm going to have to disagree with you a little bit on that,
right?
Because I'm a fiscal conservative with liberal tendencies. I believe there are people on this planet who need help. I need to know how we're going to pay for it, basically.
Right.
But as I guess I lean more toward the conservative side. I know, surprise for a boomer, but we're not going to scream as loudly because we have facts. Right. We have facts to back up what we say. And for me, I believe that the liberal agenda doesn't really have the facts. They're more emotion driven and they're responsible for the cancel culture.
Right.
So if you don't believe what I do, I'm going to cancel you. I believe if you don't believe what I do, you have a right to do that. Mm-hmm. Don't shove yours down my throat, and I won't shove yours down my throat.
Of course.
And so that's that. I'm going to disagree with you on that one a little bit. But another thing you said that I kind of enjoyed when you said it on YouTube, I've been watching this. Watching YouTube and watching other avenues other than mainstream media is research. That means you're going out of your way to find out some information and learn for yourself.
Right.
That's not media. That's not this group of people shoving their agenda down your throat. Right. I commend you for doing that research, but how many people are actually going to do that?
Of course.
For you to find out what you saw, you had to go and physically type in and do some active research.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. We have a lot of lazy people on this planet who just chime into whatever their favorite TV station is because that TV station or newscast or whatever promotes what they believe in.
Yeah. I mean, at what point in this country did it become about we have to be in the same room and believe alike? I mean, that sounds like a cult to me.
Right.
Like, I believe that we have gotten so uncomfortable sitting in the same room and believing differently that we've almost become like we can't even be in relationship with each other anymore.
And that's what I was saying is like I feel like I have a certain type of political leaning, like you were saying before, where I have a lot of friends of mine that I've had in the past that was the same sort of way. It's like I feel it's not that I'm nervous or that it has stopped me. It's maybe have stopped me in the past, but it's like I feel like I can't say the facts that I think are true or that are true, or I can't say my political side. Because I'm going to get ostracized, or I'm going to get told that I'm wrong, or I'm going to be told I'm a bad person, or something like that. Even though
I'm offended.
Exactly.
But what's
ladies
sad,
and gentlemen, we'd like to offend at least one person on the podcast. We're an as X-Man says, we're an equal opportunity offender.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to steal your bit there.
That's okay. I love that about the two of you is that, we are, but I have to, I think there's some validity in that, but here's the problem with that is then you become a little bit hypocritical for your generation because you're the ones that kind of exposed authority and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you would be the first generation to say that if you do nothing and you sit there complicit and say nothing and all that, but yet you're so afraid of being ostracized, you're in fear, so you do nothing.
Exactly, because a lot of times, and again, it has never stopped me from actually making trying to make a difference, going to vote or going to do something. But it has sometimes, if I'm outnumbered in one political leaning with some of my friends, and we're all talking about something that I don't believe is true, sometimes I'll just keep the peace and just not say anything, or I won't agree. But again, a lot of times it's like that's kind of where I have noticed.
You have to look at the differences. Guys 18 and 19 from my generation were storming the beach in Normandy or fighting in Vietnam, and the guys in his generation have their slippers on and they have man buns and they're sipping on their coffee and they're in their parents' garage or basement.
I just took a sip of coffee and I feel like I was personally attacked. Just saying that,
and I don't mean that as a shot, but it's true. I mean, guys were willing to fight for what they believed in. Now we're just willing to cancel somebody.
Yeah, because I'm willing to fight, but if I can do it with the drone, hell yeah,
That's
right.
That's right.
Yeah.
No,
think smarter, not harder. Right.
But I think that's a huge one, and not only though because they control the narrative, but it's because they manipulate the narrative.
Right.
You know, it's one thing to say we're going to run these 3 stories because they're the top stories in our country today, but it's a whole nother thing to say we're not going to run this one because if we do, it helps the opposition.
Right.
You know, that's kind of bull. I mean, you know, run the stories, report it fairly, hear from other people, let other people weigh in, and get some. You know, everybody says they're fair and balanced. I'm going to call BS on it because I don't think I've seen a fair and balanced news show in my maybe last 10 years.
I think it's been before that.
Yeah.
I think the war on Vietnam was the first televised war, and I think that started the change. I think, you know, people were offended, and they started spinning what they wanted then for you to believe what they wanted you to believe.
Right. Well, and the world's gotten smaller too. So so the government can just feed us a line and everybody buys it because we actually have access now to those people on their cell phones. And so, you know, propaganda's a lot harder than it used to be. And so
Is it?
It's not.
Who's taking the vaccine?
Well, it's not because there is a social media network now that can also be used to manipulate. And so,
but even that's controlled.
Right.
Ask the owner of Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, let's look at the analogs on Facebook.
And it has different rules here than it does for China and that it does for anyone. Like everybody else gets a different.
And it has different rules if you believe in what he believes in.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're going to fight for our little podcast to get some space on Facebook.
Right.
But then if you completely agree with them, they're going to promote you on your own. Their analog is going to push you to other people.
That's the hard part is like all these big tech companies all believe in one side, and it is very obvious. Like you can get on the platform, you can get on YouTube, anything with Google, Facebook, Twitter, like it's all like a lot of it says that it's non-biased or whatever, or it may not say any of that, but it is very, if you are not on their side, they will silence you.
What's the dude with the pillow? The pillow guy.
The Mr. Pillow guy?
Mr. Pillow guy.
I love him.
Okay. All right. Okay. He opens his mouth for our president, and now we're canceling him.
Right.
You know, Costco is not going to carry his pillow. This company's not going to carry his pillow. This company's not going to do this because of what he opened. This is a free country.
Right.
He has the right to say, if you don't like what he says, don't buy it.
Exactly.
Why are you? Why does the press or the cancel culture of today want to stop me? What if I just like the pillow and don't give a shit what he says?
Yeah.
What if I just got the best sleep of my life on that pillow?
Yeah. If you guys haven't, Bo Burnham is a pretty funny comedian. He's a kind of a younger guy. He has a Netflix special called Inside, and there is a certain bit in his special where it's obviously satire and obviously jokey, but it's all in black and white, and it's kind of like an interview background. And he's like, it's not about, like, to summarize it, he's basically saying, like, it's not about if you have a good product or if you're going to be a good company, all that kind of stuff. It's what do you believe in the war against racism with wheat thins? And it's like it's all about, like, there's always a bigger agenda. It's like it's not just a product or a food item or some business. It's always like, what do they believe in, and should you support them in some capacity?
Well, that's what's coming. If you look at the way the media and the press is and social media on top of this, you're going to get a social score.
All right.
Uh-oh.
I don't.
Yeah. You know, China's already pushing that. They have social scores in China. So depending on what you say and what you believe, and then they monitor what you do on the internet, and basically what you do, say, and see develops your social score.
Right.
Well, it also develops what they feed you. And so, you know, that's the other thing is they're getting so clever on that. I can't even have a conversation with my wife without my phone blowing up the next second of everything we just talked about.
So
you know,
what happens when my social score goes below 10? Am I going to go to an internment camp where they can re-educate me?
Yeah, that's crazy.
We're going to have a lot of people that can fake it till they make it. I believe the way you do. Wait.
Okay, can you imagine me lying or making
No.
some bullshit up? All right.
That's great.
And I don't mean to oversimplify this or anything, but
right.
I am a dad. I have elementary age kids, and so I think this way because I deal with them 24/7.
Right.
But here's the thing, too, is that in our American culture right now, I kind of feel like we're at that place where we need the good wisdom of our parents ringing in our ears, who might say something like, "Choose your battles,
Right.
and don't choose all of them.
Of course.
Right.
Choose only the ones
Right.
that really count." You know
Right.
what I mean? I just feel like we're at a place in our culture right now where we choose every battle, and so it makes none of them
Right.
more important. Like all of them feel important because every
Yes,
battle is
yeah.
something.
And I
into
guess-
that is just because you're offended, you're not right.
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 And that,
It
but
doesn't mean you're right.
I guess
it means
that's-
that's how you feel.
that's the point that I was trying to, I guess, come across earlier whenever I was saying it's hard for me to like look into media or look into a certain news platform or even get interested in wanting to learn about what's going on politically, because like you're saying, it's kind of like a boy who cried wolf situation where it's like everything feels like it's the most important thing ever, and it's like I don't have time to sit here and read everything because first of all, I'm not that interested, and second of all, it's like I don't have the time for all that. And so it's like it's hard to like, and again, like you were saying before, choose your battles, and we're choosing all of them. It's like there are certain applications for me where I think, done that, where it's like I may not believe the same way they do, but I don't want to ruin a friendship because of right now. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Right.
So,
But isn't this America where
right.
everybody
Right.
came here to be able to have their own views?
right.
And you may think a little bit
But
differently.
in
than me.
2021, you can't do that.
No, you
But
cannot.
when you cover the election cycle for 4 years,
Oh,
4
Jesus.
years, that is ridiculous. I mean, what on earth should occupy 4 years of airtime? One thing.
Removing a sitting president.
Exactly. And so
That was their whole agenda for 4
Right.
years.
and now we're
Right.
going to do it for 4 more with
Right.
with the flip side.
Right.
Right.
And so here's what I'm saying. Where is the day when we went and we really chose the battles that mattered? Like, why the hell are we not exposing the fact that there are countries hacking into our systems and stealing our intellectual property?
right.
And like, when is America going to like remember who its enemies, and
Right.
really are? That's people doing devious things. That's
Yeah.
stealing America innovation and those kinds of things.
Right.
And it has an impact.
Right.
So let's go and expose that. Now, what reporter is brave enough to get out of their desk
Right.
and not write the easy thing, but go out there? And I tell you what, if we could get reporters to do that work.
Right.
The thing is that I will say from a little bit that I do know, I will say that I don't think it is from lack of trying. I think that the opposition is such a big hulking monster that does a really good job of silencing it, that I think that's kind of the turning point, is we need a big enough voice to, I think, have this equal battle, because right now it is very one-sided.
Well, the press is in the
So-
pockets of the politicians,
Well,
and
not
that's
only
not
that,
what
but
it's supposed to
they're
be.
also in the pockets of farming,
big tech.
big farm.
Of
Yeah,
course.
same, yeah.
So who's writing the agenda? The
Exactly.
people with the money.
Right,
The
right,
1% people with the money
Yeah.
are trying to dictate what happens to us.
I'm going to say a refreshing voice in this environment right now would be somebody who actually puts this country's focus on
Right.
true enemies that aren't ourselves.
Oh,
Right.
didn't
The-
we
the-
just have that and we booted him out of office?
Right.
Well, I'm not sure though,
Hear me
because
out.
I'll say this about him: he was so over communicative, and he was his own worst enemy.
Yes.
And so there were some
Yes.
times where I'm like, why on earth would you say that?
Right.
Right. So
Right.
I'm not all the way in that camp either,
Right,
because
right.
there's just some stuff that shouldn't be said, and I think those lines were crossed daily with him almost. And so I'll say this though: I love the presidents of our country, no matter who they are,
Right.
because this is America, and I love this
Yeah.
country.
If there was one thing that my family had taught me, or at least grandparents or otherwise, is you may not like the person, but respect the position.
Well, I want every president who sits in that office to do well.
Oh, right.
Because this is my country and this is where my kids are growing up.
Yes.
And this is where I have my life. But here's the thing, though, is that we're never, ever going to get anywhere if all we're doing is tearing ourselves down and undermining ourselves. And undermining ourselves with the world.
Again, if you think about it, and I challenge us, and I wish we could have researched this a little bit better. Most of the press in America is not owned by Americans. Oof. Okay, a number of the broadcasting agencies are owned by Britain conglomerates, Abu Dhabi, all these other places own it, and they're dictating what happens to us. They're trying to destroy us from the inside out.
Well, there's also just a campaign that goes on either through social media and other things that creates inner turmoil, and we buy into it. We sit here and we focus on ourselves, and so much that it's almost narcissistic, and actually is. And instead of getting out there and kind of remembering, hey guys, you know what? We have some people who are doing really screwed up things, and they're taking advantage of us right now. And that really should be the kind of reporting that we're doing in the tackling. So I'm with you, Stoney, on this whole press thing. I think it's one of the places where we're vulnerable.
It hurts to like really think about it, and like there are, like we're supposed to be like united, and we're supposed to be like one country, but it feels like sometimes we're so big, and there's so many people, and there's so many differing opinions that like it's hard for us to all agree on one thing. And I think I've said that before in the past. But it's, I don't know.
We don't have to agree on one thing.
But I'm just saying, like, point. But I mean, like, even like in the simplest of like, we all just abide in this country, and we all have one freedom of like, we can all, like, it feels like even that kind of stuff is like we all can find a way to fight about it, and
it's
like,
because we want to be right more than we want to be united. Unfortunately,
right?
Yeah,
it's like I know from my own personal experience, I can look at someone that thinks very politically different than I do, very religiously different than I do, even morally different than I do, and I can probably still find some way to talk to them and have some level-headed conversation. I'm not trying to say that because I'm like, oh, I'm better than everybody else, but it just is like, that's where I feel like there's this whole, I don't know, that's where I wish I could see some level of like, I don't know, cooperativeness, if we could all just have that same mentality of like,
I was
we're all different, but we can all.
I was sitting in a session with a mentor and with somebody that we were both talking to and helping.
Right.
And something I'll never forget, very profound, and something that has resonated and rang in my ears over and over in my life, is that person was having a problem in their home relationship with their spouse.
Right.
And I'll never forget my mentor looking and saying, do you want to be right, or do you want to be married? And I really think that we need to be asking ourselves that, right? Do we want to be right, or do we want to be a united country with a set of values that is about getting ahead? Yeah. It is about living the dreams and being able to do the things that we're wired to do, and to do them freely, and to do them without worry, and so that we're never in the situation like we were when this country was founded. Where we're being controlled and dictated. Yeah. But that's exactly where we're headed if we continue to go down this path where our media manipulates us and controls the message. Right. And I think that it's a real scary time. Right. Because, you saying that it's one generation away, man, I don't even know if it's that.
Right. Well, everybody wants to bash the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and say, well, that's kind of outdated. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. Right. The freedom of the press is there. It's written in there, just like the Second Amendment, just like the right to vote, just like, all of this stuff, but everything except freedom of the press has a book of responsibility with it. Yeah. Okay. Why aren't we holding the press responsible? If you tell a lie, or hey, I think, if pants really did catch on fire, the newscast would be a lot more interesting today.
Yeah. Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Why aren't we holding them responsible for what they say?
Well, and that's a good point too, because if we truly did, and we forced fair and balanced, right? We insisted on it, and we stopped buying into this. There's a side A and side B, and that's only two sides that you can you have to choose from. Right. I think we should create a side C that says you're going to give me fair and unbalanced news. I'm not watch any news.
Well, yeah.
And which is what my wife and I basically do now. We've stopped watching because you know what? We've been happier ever since we turned it off.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Think about the show The View. It's not called The Views.
Right.
Yeah.
It's called The View.
Right.
Can you imagine somebody like me being a guest host on that?
Right. No.
Okay.
No.
You see what I'm saying? It's called The View for a reason.
Yeah.
And people that tune into that have one single view.
Right.
Every conservative that's on there winds up leaving.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they only put them on there to beat the shit out of them.
Of course.
I'll listen to the news to find out the weather forecast, and I'll listen to it for facts out of a case like the Gabby Petito case and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to listen to it otherwise because I don't like hearing all of it.
Right.
And I agree with you. And it's not that I don't think the message matters. The message does.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the thing that changes that is my vote.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. It changes that. And so if there were actually great reporting going on about our truest enemies, the ones that, I always say our enemies are who we say they are.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so if we're our enemies being ourselves is tough because that's us saying that. But if it's, if we're going to name someone stealing intellectual property and that's an enemy, then go after it with some gusto. Because that's actually going to help our whole country. Mm-hmm. That's going to make everybody, doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter if you're independent, doesn't matter if you don't vote at all. You're going to be helped if our country's intellectual property is not being stolen.
Right.
And so, I think there are just some more important battles that this country needs to insist that its leaders face. And, and let's figure out a debate over who's going to skin the cat. But I'll tell you what, all we're allowing right now because of this, the actual cost is the gutting of our middle class. Yes. It is the absolute most disgusting thing that I've seen happen in my lifetime is to watch a pretty robust middle class just dwindle to nothing hardly. And that's sad.
I agree.
Most families are living
paycheck to paycheck,
a month away from homelessness. And that's not cool. I mean,
well, part of that is sorry, Ian, but the generation that wants everybody to be equal. Everybody can't be equal. Do you want somebody to be your surgeon that hasn't trained for it? No, that guy went and got an education, or girl, sorry. They got an education to be where they needed to be. Some people don't have that drive or to do that. If you're going to be a plumber, be a great plumber. And everybody should be able to do what they want to do, get paid for it, and have a good life. And the people that want to sit on their asses, well, we shouldn't have to carry them. Again, fiscal conservative with liberal tendencies.
Right.
People out there need help. But if you're going to sit on your ass and have babies, I'm not going to pay for that. Yeah. That's not my responsibility. And I think the government needs to get out of that business because all you're doing is buying votes and you're creating another slave type system. And in that, you're getting something in return. But these people are sitting on their asses doing nothing. And the middle class is going to leave because they want everybody to be in that so they can control everybody.
Yeah. I mean, if systemic reform is certainly something that our country should be talking seriously about. If we're going to look internally and look at ourselves, it's got to be the main thing. And because one of the things that I love that your generation has done, Ian, is that you have rooted out true authoritative abuse and you've called it and you've named it. And that has made it not okay to sweep it under the rug. So when you have some like Weinstein, pulling that, that's not going to fly anymore.
Right.
And I think the Me Too movement has shown that. I think that the Black Lives Matter movement, all of these things are talking about, are basically about disparagement, past disparagement that people have suffered, and they are so tired of it. They feel like they need to, go in and create movements that are going to change the game. Yeah. And I,
but again,
and I think that's cool, but let's not do it at the expense of each other.
But America is the greatest country in the world. Even the people that hate it won't leave.
Right.
I think if you don't like it,
American.
I think the people don't want to leave their parents' basement.
Right.
Are the only people that want to leave. If somebody wants to go, I think that should be something. Hey, give them a ticket and send them down the road.
That was like there was a either something that I read or a conversation I had with a friend of mine or something. I forgot what it was, but it was like I think people take for granted the freedoms that they have, and the fact that someone can stand up and burn the flag and say they hate America, but then still reside here. Like you take, even though I don't agree with that, I think even those people take for granted their freedom to do that.
Right.
And not get reprimanded for that. It's like, that's the thing I think that we're all kind of, or I take for granted sometimes too, is like just how easy it is to be able to do something like that. And it's like, not everyone has that luxury. And I think that's,
But there is a right to peaceful protest, and so if that's your heart, you live in this country, it's your right.
Keyword peaceful.
Right.
We've lost even that.
I agree, and a lot of that is learned behavior because we have countries doing that to our flag.
Right.
I mean, we see it in other countries, and so I listen. I know these are big, complex problems, but at the end of the day, this is going to boil down to a 4-letter word. Love. If we do not learn to do that better than we do anything else, we're not going to be able to make friends out of enemies, and we're going to continue to have these problems within.
We even talked about this a little while ago, was like empathy is a big thing.
Yeah.
I think people claim they have it, but I don't think they really understand, like, for everybody, like other people. Like, it can't just be people that are like-minded of you. You can't just love everyone that's just so happens to believe the same way you do. Like, it has to really be like I don't know. There's like a level of like, I don't know. Again, to bring it back to our aliens episode we talked about, we're all people just living on this earth together. Yes, we have different countries we live in. Yes, we have different religions and other things we do. But at the same time, it's like, race is, I don't know. Yes, we're all different colors, but we're all human beings, though. It's like, I don't get it. Like, like I said, I understand it. It's like a systemic thing that has been passed down from generation to generation, sort of thing. But for me, it's like, at the same time, though, it's like, but we're all just human beings, though. Like, I don't understand why. Like I said, I'm probably oversimplifying it. I don't understand why there's so much hate. That, like, especially towards that sort of circumstance, and other things too when it comes to other political beliefs or other religious beliefs.
Because the higher power groups, not our higher power God, but the higher power groups want that hate here. Because I heard somebody said, I forgot who made the quote, but until we cure greed, we'll never cure anything. And that includes hatred. That includes world hunger. That includes so many things.
And pride. Actually.
Hey, look, I'm a capitalist. I believe in being able to make a profit.
Right.
But now we have, irresponsible profits out there at the cost of the world, the climate, our health. Pfizer doesn't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
They don't. Pfizer paid the largest criminal payment out in history over a vaccine. Yikes. Okay, and now here we are going to go with their third booster shot now? Really? Okay, because who's telling us? The press says this is all good. If you watch the commercials and you watch the press, some little goofy little person, I believe in the science. Yeah. That person's not really saying that. They're an actor being paid to say that to make you feel comfortable with bullshit. Right. And that's what the press and the media is doing today. And until we cure unrestricted profit and get down to some real business and taking care of each other on this planet, we're going to have a problem. You
even talked about global warming stuff. It's like, I know that whole thing is masked with other stuff too, but just to boil it down, it's like, we could all hate on each other all day long, but it's like we're on a planet that's not doing so well right now. It's like,
I don't believe that it's for the exact reasons that they say.
Right.
Because if you look back over, 100,000 years, there's been, everything has a cycle in it.
Right.
The dinosaurs got big because the trees got big and produced more oxygen. So the dinosaurs could, and it does this little, but you know what? It doesn't matter. why can't we just be responsible?
Exactly.
How about we just be responsible?
Yep.
They had a carburetor, back in the 50s that got 100 miles to the gallon. Where'd it go? Somebody bought it up, destroyed it, and threw it away, because that's not how you make money.
Because we're going to have to learn to love our planet more than we loved our bottled water. That's why.
Right. Yes.
Sorry, but it really is that simple. I mean, we have the capacity and the ability, but you know what? Bottled water company don't want you to think that way.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
again, it comes down to, like you said, love. It's like, the press loves stirring your ass up more than than they love telling the truth.
Well, and it's like squirrel all the time. Keep your attention over here so that we're not actually tackling the problems that matter.
That's right.
Let the big boys handle all of those the way they want them.
I can see them sitting back there giggling like, look what we made them do this week.
Yeah.
Right.
Look at these idiots. All it takes is
let's see what lie they can believe this time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that we have people whose careers are to do that to you.
Right.
That's it.
That's what they're making a living doing. They're gonna control the message, and they're gonna control how you live your life and what you're focused on.
They're going to tell you what to eat, when to eat it.
Right. But we need to wake up. We need to wake up, and we need to start insisting on something better. And until we do that, we're going to continue to go down this road of disunity, and we're going to continue to go down this road where we're our own worst enemy. And I think that's really sad, because we are a great country. We are an amazing country, and we do have a good foundation that is for freedom, does stand for what's right, does want people to be equal and that kind of thing. So not that we've ever done that perfectly, and I know that we're a great big experiment, but I mean, I look at the other systems, and I'm really glad I'm in the one I'm in.
Well, when the other systems, France, a couple other ones, fall into shit, who do they call?
Yeah.
They call America.
Yep.
America.
But and like that, it's so scary too. Because again, like I've said before, it's like starting a family. It's like, man, I get nervous about trying to raise a kid right now, like, or even in the next 5 years, because it's like I don't even know what the world's gonna look like. Like I said, I love the freedoms that I've been afforded, and and all the great things that living in America has done for me, and the opportunities it's given me. But sometimes it's like, man, I'm starting to get real nervous for what's about to happen, because it just feels like everything is. I mean, I know that we're already we're just dancing on a tightrope. Like most times anyways, like even back in the good old days probably, but like it just feels like even now more than ever, it's like we're just one little snip away, and it's like everything's gonna come crumbling down. It feels like some days.
Well, ask the Roman Empire.
Oh yeah,
it didn't take them long to fall.
Right.
And it was for some very similar reasons.
Right.
When you become a socialistic or a victim society, and you start draining on the people that are actually doing the work, you're done.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're getting to that point right now.
Instead of dismantling things like law and order too, creating and refocusing that on actually having a system in which crime that is committed is actually thoroughly investigated to the point where you're not going to want to commit one here.
Right.
And so like actually focusing on those things that matter. When I was growing up, the focus was on drugs and the imports and the things that were happening, with the drug war and all of that sort of stuff. Right. We don't even talk about that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Mostly because most of it's legal now.
Right.
But so we're not even focused on the fact that we have other enemies. We have these things that really do affect our country. The opioid stuff. Yeah. When are we going to demand that really be dealt with fully?
Yeah. Well, again, that was Big Pharma trying in their own narrative saying this is not addictive. Right. This is not going to hurt you. And then paying doctors to prescribe it till it was too late. And everybody went, oh, shit, now it's a problem. But again, how did they get it that far? How many drugs has the FDA approved
I got a big
away?
Question. I got a big question. I've been thinking about this for a second. How do I phrase it?
Well, if you've been thinking about it for a second,
I've been thinking about it just for a second, but I'm just trying to think of how do I pose it correctly. Do you think that history will repeat itself and that Rome will fall?
Absolutely.
Really?
I think we'll change. I don't think America will go down.
Right.
But I think we're fixing to change or morph into something else. And I think the quiet people are getting tired right now.
Yeah.
I do.
Wow, that's interesting.
I think there are going to be a couple of things happen, and they're going to have enough.
That makes me scared. But I don't think it wrong though. It's one of the.
I think the best predictor of things to come are things that have been.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, unfortunately, when we look at the empires of this world, there have been falls and rise.
Right. Oh man. Uh-oh. It's like a question I wanted to ask, but I don't think I want to know the answer to because I feel like I knew what it was.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a big question, which is why I think if we need to like really work on as a country together, sitting on the same side of the desk, looking at the problem and going, what matters here,
right?
And not what we're being told has to matter,
right?
What actually matters here,
right?
If we're going to shore up our labor markets, what's going to actually do that? Well,
stop paying people to sit on their asses and do nothing. That would be a good start.
Well, and also stop allowing other countries to steal our intellectual property and knocking it off so that we're competing against technology that we created. So like that's number one. And some other things too. I mean, there's a host of other things, looking at things like education, looking at things like the things that matter, that are about our children and our grandchildren and the legacy that we're going to leave. Looking at why the heck and how we're going to reverse the trend of the gutting of the middle class. These are the real problems. This is the real thing. The disparagement, the continuing our work on racial reconciliation and fixing systemic racism and creating a culture of anti-racism.
Yeah,
I think is really important. And so that everybody is together on the same page and we're not fighting against each other.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think the media or the press is ever going to allow that to happen?
They're not sexy enough stories, number one.
No,
but second of all, they're not, because then they can't control the message.
They can't control the message. So, the reason they do that is because they want us talking about that, and they want us in such an uproar, we don't see everything else going on right now.
Right.
Yeah. And so I
feel like the country's going to split right down the middle before they even know what happened.
Well, I mean, I never thought I would see the day. I mean, when I was growing up, you could have conversations. Now, you didn't necessarily have them, in any situation. They were, at the family reunion, though, it was safe to have conversations about politics and religion where you had difference of opinion.
Right.
Today, I'm watching families unfriend their own families over a political disagreement or a president or that kind of thing. And so I just, that's sad.
Yeah,
it really is. It's really sad. But also, I mean, you can only take so much, right? You listen to so much hatred and so much, you're just kind of like, I just don't want to.
Well, this country was founded on them only taking so much and then waking up one day and going, I don't think so. We're going to do something else here.
Right.
And so, do I want that? No, nobody wants that, because that's just going to be a horrible place for many years for America. But is it going to be necessary to gain control back away from the money and the media and the politics that really aren't benefiting Americans, like, X-Man says, the middle class? When are we going to get that back?
And I mean, I want you to hear me more than anything. I love this country.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why I care about this. I love our country. I'm deeply concerned about our country right now. I'm deeply concerned, because that we've made great progress in so many ways, and I'm so proud of our space program and so many like our the things that we've done to progress innovation and American ingenuity. Like, I am proud of all of that, but I am very concerned when the majority of our time is being spent naming ourselves our own worst enemy. I don't want to be my own worst enemy.
No.
I think we did a good job naming the media as the greatest enemy to America. So, I think we need to continue on that. When we start realizing some of the things that are more important than hatred, 85% of the bridges in America have been deemed unworthy or unstable.
Yeah.
how about that as a topic? You know, I mean, good Lord, how are we going to pay for that?
We need to move into a season of accountability for the media and say, that's not the story we want to hear about.
Right.
You know, we don't want to hear more divisive stuff. What we want to hear is you exposing true injustice, and you reporting on how we're going to work together to improve some of these major and serious problems that we have in our country, and how we're going to rebuild our middle class so that our country really
how do we hold the press accountable for that?
Turn them off and don't buy them.
Congratulations, guys. We're going to be starting. This show is going to transition into a fully political news station. I'm kidding. We're gonna,
Sponsored by
Pfizer.
Right.
I doubt it after what we've said.
Lord Jesus. We might get a phone call. Cease and desist.
Yeah, exactly.
Did we offend you, though? Pfizer.
I hope we offended somebody.
I hope we offended the CEO.
Somebody,
Wouldn't it be great to get a letter from the CEO of Pfizer saying, I'm offended?
Yeah.
I don't know if that'd be a great thing, but it'd definitely be funny, though.
I'd laugh my ass off.
Prove your point.
I'd frame that shit.
Right. I don't think I have the I don't know what it would take to be able to, I guess the resilience to be able to take that and be like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to have some people who hate me now.
You know what I would love, Ian? I would love if you told me a week from today that a bunch of our listeners got on Facebook and they dished about this, because I want to know what they think. Like I want to know who they think their worst enemies are. I want to know, I want to know like where they stand on this. And so if they go to our face page, we have a Retrospect Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hop on there and let us know like what you're thinking, and make sure you share this, because I want to know what your friends think too.
Right.
Like, I want to know what, you know, if we could get a wide audience to weigh in on this, I think that'd be awesome.
Right. Even just because you had mentioned it, I'll go ahead and say some more. I got Retrospect Pod, all one word, on basically most of the social media platforms. So we have a link tree that does the same thing. So you can do / Retrospect Pod on a Linktree, and it has all of our links there, or you can just go to our Facebook page, has all of it there too. But that's kind of how you can find a lot of our stuff if you ever are looking to, find out about it. But yeah, it's crazy. I like I said before, initially, I think there's obviously other evils out there that I think are probably like true enemies, but I definitely, whenever you posed the question, though, that was kind of the first thing that came to mind, was just this. I don't know. It's what feels tangible right now. There's other probably bigger threats, but that one feels like it's a everyday sort of thing.
Yeah, I think we as a country need to do some real soul searching, and I think we need to. I also think that we need to be in a mindset of forgiving each other, our past grievances, and getting back on the same page with one another. You know, when I'm proud of this country is when we rally because we share. We were all on the same page about what our actions are, and I feel like, you know, when I've seen that the best is unfortunately when we're under attack, you know, from an outside group. And so I think that's been, you know, evidence, but I really believe that we need to do some soul searching. And I really think that we need to to dedicate ourselves to reconnecting with people who don't think like us.
Right.
And being willing to kind of say, you know what, I don't agree with a dang thing you said, X-Man, but I can still sit on and listen to that podcast, and I can still have my opinion and still respect that you have a right to yours, you know, without feeling like I have to cancel or unsubscribe, you know, like without feeling that. And let's get used to and get more comfortable with being okay to agree to disagree.
Right.
Turn the media off.
Right,
exactly.
Turn them off. Just turn them off.
No matter what side you're on, no matter who you believe in, let's all just agree to stop listening to the media. So, right.
Put them out of business. I'd love that.
It'd be great. But yeah. Anyways, you guys have anything else you want to talk about
far
as that?
I'm good.
Yeah. The only thing I could say to end it all is just, I don't know. I constantly try and find other ways to have empathy for other people. Even if they are very, very against what I believe, it's like but we're all just people. Right. We're all just.
Well, I want you to believe differently than me on some things.
Right.
If we all felt exactly the same way, how boring would that be?
Right.
You
Well,
know,
and
Hottie
it's-
Doctor and I have a lot of things that we are 100%
Right.
on the mark on. And we just look at each other and go, really? You
Wow,
like that? Or you
nice.
felt that way? Or that inspired you? Yeah, me too. But then there's enough things to kind of keep it really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what America's about.
Right.
That's what it's really about. There's enough differences to keep it interesting.
It's what Retrospect is about too. I mean, and
Yeah.
if you think about it, I mean, that's what this show's premise is, and there's not a week that goes by that I don't listen to something that one of you have to say, and I don't like feel the thing that you feel through the lens that that you're talking in, you know, because we all were brought up in different times, and so we've all had different experience, which is going to weigh into how we process and feel about things. But I respect you for your differences, even when I disagree with you.
Yes.
And so most of the time,
I knew it. There's a little asterisk there always.
I'm not perfect.
Always a disclaimer with him.
Oh, that's okay. Anyways, as we always say, we're looking to offend new people in some capacity, so hopefully we offended somebody.
We're an equal offending opportunity
Yes,
for
exactly. Let's all gather around together and get offended. As we had said a little while ago, Retrospect Pod is kind of our handle on almost every social media platform, or our link tree that you can find us there. Or you can just type in Retrospect on your favorite podcasting platforms, and I can almost guarantee it's going to show up. But until next week, bye-bye.
See ya.
Peace.